Okay, so we're asking Dom. No, we're not. That's the second time we've done that. Welcome to Social Media Fridays. Each week we meet to consider what's happened in the world of social media in the previous 7 days and generally wind down. We add items of interest to the Social Media Fridays community. Thank you. You can add an item that you'd like us to discuss. You can even join us, and we look forward to that. With us today we have Edwin Jonk, he's CEO of ideshost.nl, a web hosting firm in the Netherlands. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense and also the Google Plus help community. He's also author of the book, Amazon bestseller, Social Proof, and How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Social Media. Meher Bhagat is a human resources dynamo from India. Tony McCreath is Adelaide's leading SEO. He is webmaster of the website websiteadvantage.com.au. Okay, our first item that was posted this week was by Masataki. It was a great post from David Kucher. I've got a lot of respect for David. It was on, well, he titled it Ad Blindness, Banner Blindness, but basically he was targeting people that would like to be termed as influencers. I won't attempt to read out the whole article, but I'd like to know what you guys think of it. If you're following along at home, you can read this article. It's shared on the Social Media Fridays community on Google Plus. Nothing?
I agreed with it all. I have the same feeling at times, is that there are some people who are just out there too often saying just the same thing. And so I kind of start filtering them out.
Is Masataki Wasa not talking to me?
As Tony said, I think quite a few people repackage the same thing over and over and over again, and you'd have read it at some point, and you have vaguely remember about it, familiar with it. So if it's posted in another guise, then just tend to ignore it. And even though the image that accompanies the post might change, the copy might change slightly. It's essentially the same thing. So after a while, you get used to it and think, you can more or less, or instinctively, as it were, ignore the post.
Yeah. There are some that every post has to be the most dramatic headline, the most amazing thing that has happened, and sooner or later you run out of amazing things that have happened. They run out of puff. Eventually they begin jumping the shark and just repeating the whole lot, and it becomes a turn-off. Yes, so yeah, I'm glad that David posted that. It might cause some to reflect.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people's lives are pedestrian and mundane. Most amazing things don't happen.
Yeah, I guess it's like crying wolf, is that if you just keep doing that, then people, and behind it there's nothing, people will stop checking what you're saying and things like that.
Yeah, it's sort of good old Potemkin villages, great facade, nothing behind it.
I think we'll stand the test of time because we never set out to be anything other than boring.
On a similar thing, I find that sometimes I mature in what I'm doing. Like, say, if I'm in a community, initially it's really interesting. There's lots of new stuff coming out, but eventually it's the same old, and I eventually move on. I've done that with some forums where at first the questions being asked were challenging to me, and now I hardly go back there because it is just like, why don't I rank #1 anymore? And it just gets boring. So you find another place to be.
That's why you've left us to go to Small Business Secrets, and you've become the SEO of the week.
Oh, now I've got that badge, I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, have we covered David Kirch's article? I'm going to take that as a yes. Next, we have one which was an interesting survey of 7,000 teenagers on what they were actually doing, where they were spending their time, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook, Pandora, Instagram, and Google Plus even. Did you guys have a look at this study?
Yeah.
Any surprises there, Tony?
Not really. There was quite a few there that I've not really played with, so it could be interesting to check out.
Okay. If there are no objections, I'll move on to the next. This one was posted by Tony McCreath, and I couldn't title it in any other way than Tony's description, which was oops. Tell us what happened, Tony.
Well, it seems that the airline, which airline is it? US Airways, accidentally tweeted a pornographic picture in response to someone. And they eventually came up with the excuse that they were getting rid of dodgy tweets, and they picked up the wrong URL and accidentally posted this pornographic picture instead of what they were meant to post. So yeah, if you do actually go there, yeah, make sure you're over 18 if you click on the uncensored version. But a big mistake.
The version's pretty, it's not the kind of thing you want to see first thing in the morning. I can tell you that.
Okay.
And I guess that goes back to what we've said before. Like these big companies really should have someone double checking what they're doing instead of finding out afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there seems to be a lot of damage control happening lately. Another large company made a major blunder. I can't think who it was. Anyway, all right. Well, we're ripping through these. I think we had 5 items to discuss. We've already knocked 3 of them on the head. Here's one posted by Meher Bhagat, who's with us today. Social media customer engagement mistakes. Tell us all about it, please, Meher.
It's pretty much the same that we've been discussing last week and the previous question right now. I mean, it shouldn't. One should actually be very cautious about posting. The damage control has to be, in place. Don't be sorry. Simple as that. Tony had already last week we discussed this, Tony, right? Remember?
Yeah. Yes.
It sounds a very bad image for the company to have a sorry situation. It's better you have a in-place team who actually take care of these kind of blunder mistakes.
And I think these tips here are good for small businesses and big. Basic things they should just put in place. Make sure you reply.
Yeah.
These has to be. See, the point is that when you get a company is into social media and they're picking up their plans, you don't have to go on every platform, be it Twitter or any of the other platforms. If you're not ready and you do not have a team who can handle the response segments, the in-queue answers, question answers. I mean, if the company has actually decided to go to social media to cater their services, products, or even collect feedbacks, there has to be a response team available all the time. Company has to pick people specifically for these segments. You should just not go randomly and start posting, oh, we are on air, but then when somebody posts questions or feedbacks or anything, the company should be available, personnel should be available from the company who can take up the response segment immediately.
Yeah, I remember in the olden days when it was email, and so many companies would just not reply to their emails. They hadn't got someone at the other end who actually picked them up and answered the questions. And I guess now they've got good at email, but they set up a Twitter account and ignore people talking to them.
In any case, I think if a company decides to go social media before even getting into social media platforms, they should have a response segment. If you're getting this kind of question, shoot a reply, automated reply like this, instead of being not at all, no replies. At least respond that your points, your questionnaire, or your feedback is considered, and we're looking into it. Simple as that. At least you can do it for emails.
Yeah, I think some get it quite good on emails where they'll reply and they'll also include your question, because a lot of times you fill in a form and then you don't have a copy of what you've asked. So when they get back to you, you've forgotten what your questions were. So it's good to get that automatic reply just to confirm it's been received. We'll get someone on the case, and yeah, I guess it's on social. I guess you don't have that. You don't want to automatically tweet back saying, "Yeah, we got it." You got to deal with it a bit differently.
But then there are tools that you can, instead of logging into every social platforms, there are so many tools that are available to collaboratively, kind of collaborate all the social media onto one place, and from that one screen, a company can, take care of the entire segments. You don't have to go for a paid version. Free versions are giving most of the, 3 to 4 or maximum 5 profiling. I think Hootsuite is giving 5 profiles, right?
Yeah, and that's a good idea, because you can also, it's not just one person who's monitoring it. You could have a team. So make it 24 hours, and they've all got access to that same tool.
That's a better way. I mean, it takes care of the interactive session. It does the on-time response sessions that you can do. So I think certain tools can be implemented to take care of social media engagements and user engagements and customer feedbacks, or because customer likes it quick. The reason why company picked up social media platforms instead of having an email system in place, they still have it, but they're still getting onto social media because they want want to be present. That's fine, but then if you're not responding, if you're not responding to queries, feedbacks, whatever it is, you're basically lost. Your presence doesn't make sense at all. It's best to have things in one place rather than having blunders.
Yeah, and another thing is if it's one person who set it up and they leave, that can be a common cause of why suddenly nobody's monitoring the social channels because that person's left. So if you have a system, you can, and you want to double check, make sure things are working. Recently, I just realized my new comment system on my website, I don't get notified of comments. So I now have to go through every single page to see if people have actually been commenting and if I've been ignoring them. So be a good move for a business to do a bit of an audit to make sure they are keeping an eye on all those social channels.
My advice would be to have one email ID from your company, to have a specific dedicated email ID where all the accounts are set up, in case if you would like to reset a password, you know where it's going to come. So it's best to have one email ID in place all the time that goes from where all the accounts, social media accounts are set up. That's where company do not lose its own, a platform. If you're giving it, even though if you're outsourcing it to somebody else, make sure somebody in the team sets it up for you, and the panel is handed over in that case, so that you do not lose your login credentials. You have access to the platform all the time. You are basically the owner. I mean, somebody else comes in and makes all the accounts and goes on, because what company does these days is to hand over their social media platforms to somebody else. They design the whole new platform, and boss, they move on. That doesn't make sense. It's best to have all the integrations done freehand and then hand over the complete panel to them. As soon as you get back those panels, change the login credentials, at least the password, so that they do not access it back. You never know, somebody could just misuse your platform. And
yeah, that's really
the sorry situation comes in. The sorry situation comes in.
Yeah. I actually set up a Gmail account for all my clients, and so that anything that I create for them is on that account that they also have access to. So, like you say, they can, if we go different directions, they can cut me off from that account, and they've got access to everything from that one place. And then what I then do is that in quite a lot of management tools, you can add users. So the primary user is the shared Gmail, and then I add individuals that can be added and removed. So it's kind of like the administrator, the power user for all things social, SEO, and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. There have been a number of cases where companies asked an SEO firm, for example, to set up their Google Plus page, their brand Google Plus page. And obviously there's an ownership-owned relationship, as it were. So a Google Plus profile creates a page. In most cases, you can create a page without profile, but in many cases it had been created from a Google Plus profile that owns the Google Plus page. And
Right.
sometimes the companies parted their ways from the social media firms, SEO firms, and they've lost control over their Google Plus page. And if that happens, there's no way really to recover it, because you have to ask for the ownership to be transferred from the current owner to someone who is in the organization or the business. And I've seen at least 2 cases where the social media firm that set up the Google Plus page for client parted their way, and took the Google Plus page as hostage, more or less, because they had some sort of dispute about payment or something like that. So, they created a Google Plus page, did some work on it, and then the actual owner, the client, didn't have access to it, and there's no way to force that kind of transfer. It has to be transferred from the current owner. So there's a risk in that kind of situation where you hand over control over what should be your own assets to someone else.
I've actually had 2 cases recently with new clients that they they just didn't know who created the page, and it's really hard because Google keeps that secret. They're not going to tell you. So I had to do detective work, and luckily in both cases I eventually found out the account that created the page, and from there managed to regain access. And in one case it was an ex-employee using an employee email address which had been switched off. So that was a bit of a fun detective work because nobody was listening to those emails anymore. And the other one, I just posted to the page and asked all the staff to say, can one of you tell me if you receive an email about this? But it is, yeah, you've got to manage these things and not just create them and forget what you did.
I think it's simple. You know, my best advice that I've, you know, because I particularly hold my, I remember I had a talk last time about how to get a Google page back. Basically, that was created by one of my accounts, and where it should have been created from my company account. What I did set up, my basic strategy to set up was to have a Gmail account that is hooked up with one of my company email account, dedicated account, and all the signups are made from the Gmail account, and there's a professional ID which is for verification purpose. I added that email account. Mostly everything is configured. Only that one page, you know, caused me troubles. But that was again, you know, it was from my own account, own company account, but that was from a different email ID. And that was the way Google page was set up long ago. That particular, I mean, that was from Places. That you know, because Places has recently shifted itself from, you know, into Google Business has shifted itself into Pages now directly. You can manage it all there. So it kind of, you know, hassle those things. So my personal experience advice is to have a Gmail account integrated with your company official account, and all the accounts that you make from the, you know, should be from your Gmail account, or I would advise is from Gmail account, and then, you know, all the emails can be rerouted back to you from the company account to Gmail account. You can have a forwarding system put in place. And never ever give an access of that Gmail or your personal that official email ID to anybody. Instead, you know, not even I do not even want to give advice that you should give your Facebook page to somebody, even as an editor or, you know, as a web performance or whatever it is. You should not at all give. Simple as, you know, create a panel in Hootsuite or any of these social platform tools that are available. Have an account set up into it. Have a separate account in the same, you know, add a right to somebody else, and give that platform instead of giving your pages, your you know, on the Facebook page or Twitter profile directly into somebody, you know, or some person or any, you know, organization who's dealing with social media. Give that panel instead. Simple as that. Don't screw up, because once you get screwed up, you cannot handle it at all. You cannot retake the page, you know, reclaim the rights. It's hard. It's really hard to get back rights. I mean, like, Google actually deleted my page, that initial page. That's a blunder. And that was top page on Google by default. If I hunt my company, just resume in, I used to get that page on top. Now that page does not even exist, just a review. So it's important to keep, I think it's relevant to have one specific dedicated Gmail, you know, account, and that is linked up with your official account, and all the platforms are integrated in that one email, from that email account. And if you ever have to give access to your social media, give it from a dedicated panel instead of giving it, you know, giving passwords separately. You don't have to give your passwords at all in that case.
Yeah, so you give people access via, if possible, something like the Pages management system now, because quite often clients will just give me their Google login details, and I go, no, don't do that. Don't give your access to everything away. Just invite me as a manager, and there's other benefits from that as well as protecting yourself. Is There are cases like I've had someone completely lose access to Google Analytics because they deleted their Google account, and it was the only account that was connected to that analytics, so it got deleted. If you have managers and have other people having controlled access, there's always a way to get it back. You've got someone who's still in there. So I always have 2, maybe 3 administrators on all these accounts I create, just in case. The kind of little emergency backup accounts.
Yeah, that would have that kind of insurance policy.
Yeah.
And I recently implemented that after my Google disaster. I made sure, IM admin, my personal IDs into admin area, my company Gmail IDs into, that admin area, and the other ID as well as into corporate IDs also into the admin area. So anything goes screwed up, somebody is there to recover it.
Okay, have we covered this article?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry I haven't got my camera on. I'm suffering from the flu, and I don't think you want to see all my tissues. The next one is a documentary which appeared on Australian television this week. And did you happen to see that one, Tony?
I'm on 32 minutes past watching it on the internet.
Okay. Yep. Well, look, I recommend. Well, what do you think of it so far?
It's interesting. Yeah, a different take. So, I guess my understanding, it's about a lot of kids nowadays are getting famous on the internet with likes and lots of people following them. So the companies have got pretty wise to this, and are now doing product placements with the kids and giving them pocket money type stuff. Is that about it?
Well, that's part of it. But later in the documentary, you'll hear about a company called The Audience. It's a 2-year-old startup that, yeah, I know it's only visible in Australia, but I did try to get a copy. But unfortunately, I mean, you could use a proxy, You can use proxies in Australia to watch it. But back to where I was. Talking about The Audience. Oh yes. So this guy that's running The Audience, he was working for Disney and managing social media for Cinderella. And he then decided to leave Disney and work for, rappers and movies and actors and so on. And he spouts that their company has a list of contacts with 800 million users. And they use software that they pump out content. They use a software to manage the publishing of content. But they take over the Twitter accounts of the actors and cross-post and push the content out. The actors themselves aren't putting it out, but one of the actors was a guy I'd never heard of. And he's suddenly got 800,000 followers on Twitter or something like that. Yeah, so what I thought was really interesting about what they were doing is that they're actually getting young kids to work for them as slaves for zero funds. So they reward them with badges on websites, like the most prolific sharer or well, that's probably not the title of the function, but that's basically what they were doing. They were spending hours and hours and hours clicking buttons and making recommendations to their friends, and then their friends would recommend to their friends, and that's how they generated interest. I can see I'm putting you all to sleep, so I'll cut it off there.
There was a big section on a little kid who does skateboarding, and it sounds like, well, he's got to the point where he's making money out of it, or I think he was saying that he might be able to help his family get out of financial crisis. A lot of others, they were just they're given a carrot to make themselves feel better. I think one girl was saying she wants to be the biggest fan, and to earn that is sharing. If she can share more than everybody else, she's classed as the biggest fan. And so it's that little carrot for her, and they get a lot of publicity from it.
Yeah, and they live for the chance to get a personal message from their from the person that they are a fan of.
Yeah, what was one example was that they would get into a video and a little clip, things like these little, doesn't cost the company anything to put you in, but that little extra thing for a kid being in a video just means they'll be sharing like mad, and so they target the ones with thousands of followers. So,
yeah.
StarCount is one of the. Sorry, you were saying?
This could be true with adults as well. I don't think it's just kids. They're probably just a bit more enthusiastic to do things.
Yeah, StarCount is one of StarCount.com is one of those examples that it does the same thing. It basically promotes stars, cricketers in various social media. They have their chart systems in place, and and they have also the system in place that in case you're a follower and have a kind of increment whenever you follow a particular star, a movie star or theater star, or cricketer, or any basically, if you're a fan, follow them hard, promote their accounts, and you'll be labeled as famous. Your scorecard basically goes up. They have a system in place. Even I realized I have my bloody profile on the same thing. That's where I encountered this. The StarCount.com, it does the similar thing. It gives you insights. How many Twitter followers are following you? How is your profile? Up the chart.
What was the address?
STAR count.com. StarCount.com. Yeah, it does the same thing. Basically, if you're a fan, you should be on this side, following all the people, having your fan club, kind of fan points up, and they promote their services, or kind of have some a kind of credit system in place so that you can be if you're following these many people, you're a top fan, something like that. But basically, it's promoting stars, cricketers, other social, profiles in place.
Yeah, that sounds the same sort of thing that the girl was trying to become the biggest fan on. It might be the same network.
There are various sites like these which has fan clubs in place, and some kind of vouchers, gifts that they can deliver in case they have award systems in place. Funny part, how come I am on this profile?
No. Is this the same as the term gamification of things? Is like on Foursquare now, Swarm. I do that to get my little badges and get my rewards that way. And to get badges, I'm there posting on Facebook via Foursquare. So it's that they're giving me a reward, and so I boast about it to friends, and it promotes them.
They don't have Foursquare, they have Google Plus, they've got Facebook, Twitter, Orchid, Mixi, and there are YouTube, UQ, Instagram, and three I cannot actually read because they're logos.
Oh yeah. Uh,
Star scores. That's a URL, in the footer. How they actually calculate the shared networks.
yeah. I was on another one, which you'd sign up and you'd tell them all your accounts like that, and then it would give you. I think it gave you a dollar value. It was like a stock market. So their gamification, their reward is you want your stock price to go as high as possible by being more active on all these different channels. So,
If you
yeah,
check out the
definitely.
UR, if you can check out on StarCount, there is a kudos thing that is fan recognition and awards that shows your picture going up every time you become a fan and you are the top fan of any of these following. I can
Yeah.
just see Justin Timberlake at top, 208 going up. So basically it's like, your interaction system is counted. The more you like and more you share, your points go up, and there is a reward system in place.
Yeah.
It's similar like that we're discussing. Just we can have a live example. You want me to share the screen?
Good. Is that the star count thing?
Yeah, I can do that.
So is that the fans being shown next to who they're fans for and things?
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like this, and how do you get points? Are you seeing this?
yeah. So you have to interact with the star to become a better fan. So tweet them or something like that. Retweet what they say.
So the concept, and this is pretty much your reward. Getting signed books, fan meets up, tickets, exclusive content, social shoutouts.
Cool.
This is the overall. Pretty much similar that we're discussing.
Yeah, definitely. How do they make money from this? It's got to be a money thing somewhere.
Yeah, it must be fans, it must be stars who are doing this, kind of promoting their accounts. I mean, you cannot sell a ticket of a specific star until you don't have a collaboration with them. So they must be having some kind of collaboration with vendors or, event organizers to have exclusive tickets to shows, those kind of things. If an
Yeah.
author is launching their book, there must be a kind of in-place system where they can call up, uh, have a kind of relationship with the star. There must be a mediocre or maybe a direct thing. Let me see if there's this chart's not. Charts. There are what systems in place. There is a chat snack. It's a chat app that they have for fans. Still seeing how are they kind of collaborating with specific stars. Yeah, there is a press and partnership inquiry system that they have in place.
What's that noise?
Kid crying? Is that you hearing a kid crying?
No, no. I'm not sure what you said, Meher, but I can hear a noise.
Okay. Let me
but I
just
think
check if it's me.
No, I think it's coming from Tony, although Tony's not on.
I'm gonna mute my mic. You guys can check if that's me making noise. Was it me?
No, it wasn't you. Well, look, guys, have we covered them all this week? Is there something else that you'd like to talk about before we close up?
I think this is it. All the topics that we had in the list covered.
Okay. We'll go to green room, I think, and wait for Tim Capper to give us our update for the week. Look, if you're watching us now, thank you very much. We appreciate your interest, and we'll be back at the same time next week to do it all again.